again. Slave to more than just the mind that we breathe. Stare into oblivion and lose ourselves to monotony.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to FLUX. We're having this conversation at a time when many in our trans community are feeling something familiar and unsettling. In 2014, the Supreme Court, through the NASLA judgment, recognized the right to identify one's gender. It was a moment that shifted how the law saw us and how we saw ourselves. In 2020, the 2026 amendment reopens that space. What is being discussed is a move from self-identification towards a process that may involve verification or approval. On paper, it may seem like a structure. In reality, it changes how people access documents, healthcare, employment, and how easily they can be denied of all of it. This session is not about reacting for the sake of reacting. It is about understanding what this means and what it asks of all of us. And for those joining us for the first time, just so that we are on the same page, FLUX believes in courageous conversations that create change. We have conversations that don't get simplified just to make them comfortable. We are comfortable with being uncomfortable. And today's conversation is not a simple one. Over the last few weeks, there's been a lot of discussion around proposed amendments to the Transgender Persons Act. Some of it is technical and some of it is political, but most people, for most people, the real question is, what does this actually change in someone's day-to-day life? Because every time we introduce a new process, someone has to go through it, a person, a human being. Someone has to wait. Someone has to prove something about themselves. So today, we're here to listen, to understand, and to hear from people who have lived this, who have worked within these systems, and who have helped shape the movement in different ways. Thank you all for being here. Let's begin.
Thank you.
And I will pose this question just for thought for everyone who is joining us today. If identity becomes something that needs to be approved, it also can be something that can be denied. And that's where it stops. Being technical, it becomes personal. So, Harish, I'm going to start off with you and ask you a question. Harish, when you look at these amendments, what stands out to you immediately?
I think, thank you, Queen, for asking that question, and thank you for organizing this as well. One thing that stands out is the fact that when I look at the mirror, I see a woman. And now there's going to be someone else. First of all, what I see in the mirror is not, and what I tell the world that I am, might not be valid tomorrow. Because they're going to have a different rigorous process where there is a medical board which is going to scrutinize my body. Then there is going to be a district magistrate who's going to approve it. After all those things happen is when I get to see myself in the gender that I am. And so it shifts from personal autonomy over my body to policing my body. And one other thing that hits me really hard is the fact that even people who give refuge to trans individuals who need help. Now, this also criminalizes caregiving. So that was another thing that really bothered me. It not only takes my right to be myself, it takes away my right to be kind to another person as well.
Well, thank you for humanizing what is going on and really providing us a picture from the human perspective. But there's also a lot of language that is in the process and the structure. And I guess the direct question to you is, does this make access easier for individuals, or does it actually make it more difficult and layered?
It adds several steps to the process. Not that previous process was very simple. We still had to go through a procedure to get to be certified as a trans person. But now it adds more layers to it, and the poor medical board and the district magistrate are going to be tasked um, from giving up all the other things, other important things that they could be that they could be working on, leaving all of that, and now they'd be focusing on policing our body and certifying our body. So it adds several layers to getting a certificate, which also means several layers, several ways of even denying, as you rightly said, several ways where they could deny as well. So a lot of gatekeeping at various levels.
And lastly, I wanted to thank you for that, by the way. And lastly, I wanted to actually ask, so for allies that are watching, how do they show up in a meaningful way at this time?
Well, there are protests, there are discussions. You have your local. So join any protest, any discussion that you feel. You don't need to join if you can't join every protest, at least join some protest. Understand, if you have a trans friend, speak to a friend and understand how it impacts them. Don't decide for them. And the third thing that anyone could do is please speak to your local representative, whoever your local representative is, whether is your city representative, which happens to be the chief minister, whether it happens to be a local member of parliament who's in charge of you. Speak to them and let them know what they're doing is wrong, and make them allies.
Thank you for giving us some tangible actions that allies can take. I'm going to move us on to speaking with Sainab Patel. Sainab, you've worked across the corporate world, policy, in the creation of policy and other community spaces. When you read this, what did it feel like beyond the legal language?
Thank you, Your Majesty Queen Victoria. Honestly, I did not read it like a policy document. What I read is a pattern. Because once you have worked with long enough in the systems, you stop getting distracted by language or supposed intent of people, because you start noticing the behavior of certain people. In this case, it's the politicians who are championing for this bill, because the behavior that we saw here is very familiar. We saw it start in the West, and now it has made inroads to what we thought was a progressive country on trans rights. It felt like the system is saying, we are not rejecting you. We are here to care for you. We are here to reach out to the most marginalized, to the most deserving, the most real of trans people. It's just that we are going to define the terms on which you can exist. So that's not a subtle shift. It's actually a very, very drastic shift in the way this government has thought about working with us in the future. It's a monumental shift from what the NALSA versus the Union of India case and the 2019 Act actually said. In corporate language, we call it process design. In policy, we call it regulation. And in lived reality, which we all have gone through in our life, it's nothing more than gatekeeping. Because what really stayed with me through all of the proceedings which we heard in the Houses of Parliament, it was, oh, here we are back at it again. People telling us that we need to check your bodies, we need to identify the real you, we need to get to the most deserving. And instead of asking things like, how do we make it easier for you? How do we make access better for you? They're asking is, how do we make identity more accountable? So, and I think that for many of us in this community, it no longer feels shocking. It is actually tiring, because this is exactly how it will play out on the ground. Because what has started off in bit of bringing this legislation will not remain limited to issuing of a transgender identity card and getting access to a certain government scheme. It will spill on to the street. It will involve our neighbors, our landlords, our partners, our family asking us at some point of time this question: are you quote unquote a real transgender person?
Wow, thank you so much for breaking that down, not only from the like procedure operational space, but also from what it would feel like and the reality of how we talk about opening the door to all, but the reality it's creating this filter where it would close access to many people from our community. So thank you for breaking that down in such a way that we can see that clearly. And talking about inclusion, does this moment challenge how deep that inclusion really is? Because we always talk about like, let's include everyone, everyone's included. But what does that really mean for inclusion today?
This bill actually makes total mincemeat out of inclusion, because what you are doing is the antithesis of inclusion. You're actually making exclusions, because inclusion is all about being visible, about representation, about saying the right things, meaning the right things. And real inclusion doesn't get tested when things are easy. It is when in situations like these that inclusion really matters. So the real question is that what do you do when the government who thinks it's going to be inclusive, is going to be specific, starts asking something back of you in return, to compromise your dignity, to compromise your self-worth, to compromise on your bodily autonomy, to compromise being a tick in the box. And only when you identify and start ticking the boxes which the government wants you to do, will you be included in the system. So for me, this is setting the grounds of perfect exclusion. It is those who are elected by us to bring things to us, actually making us stand out in the crowd and to be made into a firing squad. That is what is actually happening to us, Your Majesty, today.
Wow, that is definitely a lot to process, and to think about how that really makes, as your own words, mincemeat out of inclusion under the guise of trying to help. It's really actually being detrimental. So that being that, is who do you think is most at risk of being left out, of being impacted by this? What parts of our complex community are the ones that are really going to suffer the most?
Thank you for asking this question, Queen Victoria, because I think as an out trans woman, as someone who belongs to the Hijra community, as someone who has undergone both top and bottom surgery, who can speak English, who had a corporate career, and is okay economically, it may affect me, but not to the extent that it will be detrimental for me. So we will still find ways to work through the system. However frustrating or difficult it will be, people like me in the same economic belt, in the same language belt, and we'll find ways to work through the system. But just think about a trans man in a small town who is already invisible, a trans person who wishes to identify as a trans masculine person, a non-binary person who doesn't even have language for their identity on official forms, who has people who have been told you're so confused, you don't know who you are. Today you are something, tomorrow you're going to be something else. An intersex child whose decisions are made even before they can speak or give consent. And all of those who are not belonging to these four socio-cultural identities in a country with 1 billion+ people and 36 odd states. Imagine all of these people stand today to lose their identity, which they have fought so hard over these years to get with dignity. And layer that with the existing permutations in our society, that of caste, that of religion, that of geography, people of the Northeast versus people of Southern India versus people of Northern India versus those in the tribal belt versus those who have different caste-based identities. it is going to be so much more complex.
Well, thank you again, Sign Up, for going into the complexity and really providing us a very in-deep overall picture of the realities of how this is going to impact the citizens of India. I think sometimes we forget, like, we are citizens of our country, right? We have a voice in what happens. So for those that are watching who may not fully understand the implications, what is the one thing they should pay attention to?
Very simple one-liner answer to this, and I don't take up more space. Don't get lost into the legal language. Don't get lost into what politicians are talking about. Just ask yourself this one question. Do you as a person get to say and decide who you are? I repeat, do you as a person get to say and decide who you are, or does a system, a committee, a magistrate, healthcare professional decide that for you?
Wow.
If you can answer that, if it is anyone other than you, that is the problematic section, starting the bill and then moving forward.
Wow, it just really hit me to think. What we're really asking here is, like, you don't get to decide for you your own future, your own autonomy. There's an external place that basically decides if you are the human being you say you are.
And if I
That
may
is,
add one more line to this, Queen Victoria, with your permission, because when identities such as ours become approval based, then everything else becomes conditional. And it will show up in your jobs, it will show up in your healthcare system, it will show up in education, it will show up in sexual assault, and it will show up in everyday life of yours. Your neighbors, as I said, your family, your loved ones will actually ask you this question: are you a real transgender person?
something for us to think about and really process just as human beings, what kind of impact that would have. When talking about impact, our next guest, Aryan Pasha, has definitely had an impact not only in his community but in sports, and as a person who stands in a community that oftentimes gets overseen, especially trans men, trans masculine community as a whole. My next question will be for you, Aryan. Thank you again for joining us. Aryan, your journey has often highlighted gaps that don't always get enough attention, especially the trans masculine, trans male community. How do you see these amendments impacting trans men specifically?
Uh, so now they already have this bill, okay, and they have a retrospective clause where they have said that all the existing ID cards won't be like continue for further. So there are very few trans men who had applied for it, and now that we don't know whether it will be valid or it is an invalid document. And for the like they have said there will be a medical examination, but for us we doesn't exist for them in the transgender category. So our existence is like it's a question mark even for the community whether we are not included in the definition, but where we will go now, how we can pursue our transition, like will doctor will be willing to do surgeries on trans man, and how people can change their documents now, those who will are willing to go for the transition. And there are many trans men who are still in the process of changing their documents. They all are literally confused, they are worried about their jobs. So all those things have started coming from the community. And for like our government with they don't even think we even exist. So for the trans men, it is a question of their existence. Like for trans women, we have a very strong history in India. But as we born in patriarchal society, we don't have any recorded history, or we don't have any role model which we can present to the government. And We don't know right now where we will go, but yes, we will fight in the court and we will come back strongly this time. And there will be a lot of like presentation and like trans men community will be in front for sure, because when they filed the Nalsa judgment or like a decade back, that time they like we don't have any representation from the trans men community, but things have changed after Nalsa judgment and after this act. So there are many people who are out and loud about their voices. So I hope in the like through the Supreme Court we will get our identity back.
Thank you. Thank you again for using your platform and for stepping into the leadership of visibility as a transmasculine person and raising your voice. So that to me makes me think about what you mentioned of not having a sense of visual history being represented. So it seems that conversations tend to always center the trans femme, the trans women. And these narratives are changed. Do you feel that these conversations around policy still tend to center on certain narratives more than others within the community? Is that also true? Is this policy mostly not I'm hearing that it's being discussed within transmasculine communities. I guess what I'm asking is, do you feel that it oftentimes when people in general population talk about it, they think it would only affect trans women and not trans men?
Yeah, basically we are invisible in the society and we are the most marginalized people within the umbrella term. And I
Mhm.
think recorded history matters a lot because I have seen how the trans women socio-cultural identities make their visibility strong, and all these politicians they have a view through a religious perspective that they wanted to only work for the socio-cultural identities. And having a recorded history like today I'm realizing this, that how much it is important to have a history, to have a record, like what we have gone through, how was our journey. Like we need to have more role models so that we can also show these politicians, these bureaucrats, that we were also there, but just we were born as a female. There is no written document about us.
Well, thank you for being part of making sure that that is noted in history for our community. Thank you all really on this call for being part of making sure that history is kept and for being pioneers and making sure that our folks have access just to life, to humanity and dignity and safety. Talking about access, Aryan, I'm going to ask you is access to identity documents is already a challenge for many. Say even if folks are dealing with issues of literacy, issues of, just feeling insecure and going to access identity documents, do you think additional layers will make this harder for people to navigate everyday systems?
See, earlier it was already difficult because I know few cases where trans men applied for a TG card and they were not getting, so they tried to meet the district magistrate. So they were like, why you have applied for a TG card? You are already looking like a male, so why you wanted to call yourself as a hijra? So they are
Mm.
already not sensitized enough about trans men, and they want like now they have made it compulsory that there will be a medical examination. But in second tier cities I have seen like they all like they ask trans men to go for a medical examination. They want a certificate from medical officer. So this was happening already even before this amendment bill, and now like
Wow.
they have not put in the definition, so we don't know like whether we will be able to apply it or not, because they have already closed that portal to apply TG, like TG portal, so it is not working now.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So we
Well,
don't
thank
know
you for
something new will be coming and what they will do. Like right now, seriously, we don't have any idea in which direction we will be going.
well, that being said, so from your lived experience, what is something that policymakers consistently miss when they design the framework for something like this, for a new amendment, a new law? What are they missing? So you mentioned that the existence of transmasculine bodies is completely passed over. Is there anything else you think that these frameworks
I
are
think like
missing?
these bureaucrats, these politicians, they should do proper consultation, and the recommendation which is given by the community, they should consider it. It should not be in a tokenistic way just to show the community that they have done a consultation. But the ground reality we know as a community, they hardly take any points, or they take only few points which suits them, which suits their agenda. They are only taking that part. Otherwise, it is always pre-planned. What they wanted, they do only that thing.
Well, again, Aryan, thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you.
I'm going to move us on in our conversation. And next up, we have Dr. Laxmi Narayan Tripathi. Laxmi ji, thank you for being with us.
Namaskar, Queen. Thank you for having me here.
I know that you were part of the original NALSA journey. How do you see this moment in the larger timeline?
It's the dark day. Today, the upper house, Rajya Sabha, we say in India, the bill was passed. And so both the houses, the bill has passed today. So it's a dark day in the history of transgender movement. But again, it has given the torch in our hands to again fight for our justice, to fight for our rights, and to tell the politicians who are framing this kind of policies and this kinds of definitions, excuse me, we won't let you just ruin our freedom, our independence, our existence by your short, small thinking processes. We will fight back. We'll fight back on the streets. We'll fight in the press. We'll fight in the social media. We'll fight it in the court. We will do advocacy with the politicians, different party across politicians. I really want to thank the Indian opposition. They were so well, member of parliaments, they were so well informed, and they knew what they were speaking. This is too much. One day you get up and decide, oh, we are going to change everything for you. We will let the doctor, the medical board enter your skirt. We will tell the district magistrate to certify you. Excuse me, who are you to decide that? Without even consultations. So even we will ask, even we have to ask you all that whether you all are real men or real women who are talking against us. Even when you become a leader and enter the parliament of the country, there should be examination of your also with the medical board. We never ask such questions. Today you're totally destroying the basic constitutional rights of transgender people, trans women, trans man, non-binary, queer people. Who has given you the rights? Without a single consultation, without considering any of your committees which you had formed. And then you put us
Wow.
in such a situation.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing such truths in a way that is part of our history and community, going to what Aryan had mentioned. Ever since recorded history, our community has fought and will continue to fight, and making it also a human experience of we don't go around looking under people's skirts and qualifying their identity. It's not only a serious moment for the trans and non-binary community, it's really a serious moment for humanity, for us to really look at when people get to decide and how governments get to decide who we are as individuals. And one major thing that stood out is that it seems that there was no consultation of the community, no co-development, no what do you think from systems that were already created and that existed. So I think that one thing to take away is that not only will the community and the citizens of India fight, but that you're not alone. I'm sitting here in Mexico City right now with colleagues that are sending you all support and love, and are along with you in the fight, along with our folks that are in the United States, that are also fighting within their country, and us banding together. I know it's a heavy moment, but I really wanted to thank you all again for continuing the fight there. So, Laxmi, so do you feel that the current direction aligns with the original NALSA, what the original NALSA stood for, or does it move us away from it?
It has totally moved us away from NALSA. NALSA was something which was discussed 2013. There was the Ministry of Social Justice had a steering committee. That report went to the court. Definition was done by consultations, by several different consultations. Our definition of NALSA was taken, which the court accepted. Now you just decide and you just change the definition. I don't know. I feel if the government is so proud of it, please tell us who are the people whom you all are talking to.
Well,
We have
there-
serious questions to ask them. It's democracy. Everything should be transparent. So even the government, if it's trying to do very good for the community, be transparent. Tell us who is trying to do this. And what was the sudden need when half of the world is fighting? There is war going on. There is issues of LPG. There is issues of oil. There is issues of unemployment in the country. There is issues of different other issues. And today you just within 15 days, you bring up a transgender bill, and then you want the transgender definition to be changed, and you want to remove all the different communities from it. And then you want to say, oh no, we are protecting the most marginalized. What is the definition of most marginalized? What trans men are not most marginalized? Kinnar, Hijra, they are marginalized, but the most marginalized are trans men. Why did you remove them? The non-binaries, the queer.
Absolutely, yeah. It just said to me, thank you for pointing that out. I think it escapes people's mind at times that what else is going on in the world, and it feels very distracting at this time to bring something up from a country who has led. India has really led in the field of being able to have rights for trans and non-binary people, and because of you that are on this call that have directly worked on that. But it seems that there's also conversations around community structures that are playing a role. What are your thoughts on that, Laxmi?
The communities for whom the Hijras or the Kinnar communities or this, they have nothing to do with the bill. They are so confused that what kind of bill is come? Why the government wants to criminalize us? What is the whole issue in criminalizing us? This is what the community is thinking. That all of a sudden that tomorrow XYZ person gets up and says, if that person has animosity against me or is jealous of me, will say that Laxmi has castrated me. Laxmi has castrated me, then for 15 years I'm in jail and I spend 5 lakh rupees. The community in itself is very question. I don't know which kind of mentality this government has come upon. It is very disturbing for us. We at large within the communities are clueless why the bill has also come.
Wow. That is a very interesting perspective to think about. Not only interesting, a very alarming perspective to think about, that the community that quote unquote you're trying to protect and save is not needing of being protected and saved, right? Is very
Yeah.
capable and is not being consulted in the process of its own protection and safety.
Yes.
Laxmi, what do you think this moment is asking of our community and of the state?
No, for our community, we have to be united. We don't have to uh, bracket ourselves into wings. We don't want to, because it's an issue of transgender issue. We have to be all united together. And all of us, whether I don't like your face, whether I don't like you, whether I don't like your work, whether I don't like your lipstick, that all can go in the dustbin. But to now, we have to work together. And the state, we have to fight the state, my dear. The state is relaxing, and this means the problem. I would like to say there is one line: save us from the saviors. Please save me from the saviors. I don't want you to save me. You don't become my savior. I'm quite strong enough to save myself. I can be my own savior. I'm asking the state, stop being this notion of being the savior.
Yeah. Thank you again for sharing that with us. I think that sometimes is something that folks that are engaging and wanting to save us need to hear, right? We're very capable people. We can contribute to our own well-being. Again, thank you all for having this conversation with us. We love to be able to have courageous conversations that create change once again within Flux, the only trans-led global organization that is contributed by leaders like yourselves. So in closing, Laxmi ji, is there any closing words that you would like to address those who are going to be listening and being watching?
As a brand ambassador of Flux India, I would like to say to every trans person who identifies as non-binary, queer, trans man, trans woman, hijra, tirunangai, jokta, shiv shakti, kinnars, whatever you say, Flux is standing with you. We are together in this fight. We need everybody to come together, the Gen Zs, the new generation. Also, please get up and come out from your laptops, come out from your rooms, and we have to make a big voice. We have to be in the court. We have to be on the social media. We have to be on the press to talk about our rights. Namaskar.
Thank you again, Laxmi ji. I think that what moments like this remind us is that rights need to be held and not assumed. What we have today has come from years of work, of people speaking, challenging, and staying present in the conversation, right? What we call the fight, and that continues. We have to stay engaged, we have to stay aware, and we have to keep speaking and speaking as one voice together. Because this is not just about a bill, it's about how dignity is understood and whether it remains central to the conversation. With that, I want to say to everyone, thank you for being here and for staying with this conversation. It doesn't end here. We only move forward. So thank you again, all of you, for lending your voice. And we will continue to move forward as community, as we are in Flux, built to inspire. Thank you.
Thank you.